Little malfunction. Malfunction. 10. Welcome back. We have the amazing Leroy Brown. Have any of you ever watch The Big Bang Theory? It's a bunch of physicists who love comic books. Leroy Brown, who's a connoisseur and producer of comic books, is here today. Leroy, what's up?
Hi, Adam. Thanks for having me on the
no
show.
problem. I've been reading some of your comics online. I crack up, and I don't know why. It's kind of quirky commentary. I don't know if we can get close up. The comic here, it's a bear and some kind of gremlin ice fishing. Do you know what?
It's Eskimo.
The Eskimo and the bear is.
It's called ice cubes. They're up in the Arctic.
Do you know what I don't like about traveling? And the answer is the taste of foreign toothpaste. It's just offbeat. I don't know why it's funny, but it is. What's going on here?
Hasn't that ever happened to you? Like you go to
yes,
some kind of foreign country and you forgot the toothpaste. You can't even take toothpaste with you in your carry-ons anymore.
It's hard.
So
it's hard, right?
You end up going somewhere and you have to get like the local toothpaste.
And it can be a big surprise. And the money is incomprehensible and can't even fit in your wallet. And the toothpaste is nasty.
Yeah. Anyway, So I try to make it kind of quirky.
So where's the comic? You know, it's so funny you bring this up. I used to collect. I'd get comic books as a kid. But where do you go today? What is the comic book mecca? Who's in it?
Well, that's really interesting because actually what's happened is that comics have really shifted, from being in print, in newspapers and comic books. There's still a lot of comic books. But the newspaper market has really, really dried up.
Of course.
And not just for comics, but just for newspapers in general. And so nowadays, what a lot of comic artists are doing is they're going straight to the web, which is what I do at this point. I publish this comic on the web. It's at icecubescomic.com. And the reason I do that is because it's sort of a direct kind of relationship, contact with your audience. It's a double-edged sword, but it's at least it's a way to get out there. I mean, I did submit my comics to the syndicates, and so far I've only gotten rejection letters. So
It's all subjective, though. Everyone gets rejected 100 times, and then the one, who knows what's good? Who knows what people were like?
Right.
I mean, I think, and then you just break through one day. Peanuts got rejected. People thought Charles Schultz was saying. Some people said this is the most idiotic. I mean, this is what comments idiotic comic I've ever saw. No one's going to care about a lovable loser.
Kids,
lovable loser kid. What are you talking about?
Exactly.
It's subjective. People don't think outside the box, so to speak.
And when I was a kid, I didn't really get Peanuts because it was a bit off the wall and kind of, the themes were a little bit sort of over my head, I guess. I was a very naive kid. But now I appreciate Peanuts a lot more. It's just a tome, It's like he drew Peanuts for 50 years, and it's like there's 18,000 strips.
Yeah.
To think about it.
All over the world now.
18,000 individual strips that he drew by hand, and it's like it's a tome. It's actually a tome of American literature, I feel, at this point. And I appreciate it a lot more because there's a lot of double meanings and sort of more deeper meanings. In
really?
Peanuts. Yeah, I
really?
feel so. I feel like it's. I actually wanted to do a strip about it, and I feel like it's actually a lament on like the, mid 20th century American loss of innocence. And that's why the kids, and they've all got these problems.
Yeah, they have these weird little problems that are not so severe, but they're always with them and stuff and things. Yeah, exactly.
Sort of like the post-war loss of innocence,
Suburbia.
Yeah, and Suburbia's all there, this kind of backdrop.
Pigpen cracked me up. He was weird. That whole thing was weird. And then Lionel had the blanket at all times. And also every time the classic football, it was so generic, but every time the ball would get pulled, Lucy would pull the football from Charlie.
Yeah, well, if you think of it, it's like the stars of the strip is a talking dog, and basically a loser guy that gets put down by all the girls he meets.
Yeah.
All the girls are always putting him down.
Exactly.
That's sort of like pretty interesting.
And he plods on too. And then as a homage to the '60s, late '60s, he got Woodstock, the bird.
Yeah, that's right. Woodstock was kind of weird.
You're right.
Yeah.
So, what about the creative zeitgeist? I mean, I'm always jealous of people because I can't draw. But you can show live on TV30 Megathon or Princeton TV? How you start drawing? How you start thinking?
Well, I've been drawing for a long time. I'm going to try to, I guess you want me to start drawing, right?
If you want to, yes.
Sure. I came prepared. You can see my markers. I've been drawing since I was a kid, really. You know, I loved comics, and I'd copy them, and I'd try to draw them. And then, so I kept doing it for a long time, and then eventually I went to art school. So, you know, I learned more stuff about, you know, life drawing and painting and everything. And it's like, it's kind of, I think it's kind of like practice. You kind of have to have sort of the desire to do it, and then you perfect that desire by practicing, you know. So it's almost like a smoke and mirrors trick.
But it's kind of meditative. I guess when you're
Yeah.
drawing, it's meditative, though. It's a passion that you just do, so you get better and better.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely a lot of fun. Well, I'll draw.
Draw me. No, I'm sorry.
I don't do caricatures. I'm really sort of not very good at that.
You're not in front of like Notre Dame in Paris doing those $5 things.
I can't do that. Those guys are pretty amazing. They could just like 2-3 lines. And
Yeah, and
zap
hey, that's
something
me in
out.
front of Notre Dame and everything.
know.
I mean, and then you pay €5.
I basically, my comics is called Ice Cubes, and the main character is called Peckinpah. And Peckinpah sort of has 2 really big ears like this, and then he has a sloping forehead, and then he has kind of long hair in the back. That's kind of like my tribute to my halcyon teenage days when I had long hair. And you know, he's a polar bear, so he has fur, you know, and then he just has sort of like his two little eyes, and most of his expression comes from his eyes, you know, and it's like depending on where I put the eyes, he'll have a different type of.
I can almost
expression.
see like a woman in here, or so, a woman with a mustache. This could be another Rorschach test for me.
Well, I'll draw his shoulder, and then maybe you'll be able.
Oh, I got the. Oh, he's cuddly, little sugar bear.
Yeah, like he is. He's very warm and fuzzy, but at the same time he's got a very sort of philosophic nature. So he's always kind of asking these philosophic questions.
And I see now, in the remoteness, at the same time the dynamic is a fluffy, warm bear, at the same time is a deep thinker. So many levels. Am I making too much of it?
There you go.
Look at that. I'm so jealous. I mean, everything I do is lame stick figures. And look what you just did. Hyper, and it comes to life.
Yeah, it's actually kind of funny that you mentioned stick figures. Like on the internet, where comics have really sort of taken off as a real form genre on the internet. It's a whole sort of movement of comics on the internet. It's almost like an underground movement. But some are quite popular, and like one of the most popular ones is a stick figure comic. The guy just draws stick figures, and it's all in the writing. I'm sort of more old school. I like to kind of put a little bit more in the drawing than just write it. So maybe I'm a better artist than a writer. I don't know. I try to be both.
Yeah, but how do you get these thoughts? Does something come to your head and you start writing it down and see where your thoughts flow from? Or are you going to try to make a point? Or?
Actually, I have my little pad here. See, what I do is I walk around with this thing.
Smart.
And I just jot down notes, because
When it
things will
comes to
come to me at any old time, you know?
Right.
Just like just a thought will come to me, and I'll just write it down. It might not work, or it might not be anything. It's sort of like a combination. It's like it doesn't come out fully formed a lot of times. Just get bits and pieces. I might see something on TV, or might have a conversation with something, or, you know, my kid might say something.
And it's important
Like
to write
he came
it
up
down.
with the word eczema. Well, the Eskimo, it's called an eczema.
Sounds like some kind of skin disease. No.
When you say it out loud, yeah.
Let's see what we got here.
This is Nookie, the Eskimo. He likes to play golf out in the Arctic, but he plays with like these square golf cubes.
Cool.
So they're specially made for him. And it's, yeah.
It's what you would have there. It's what you would imagine if you're going to play, you know, golf in the North Pole.
Yeah.
Kind of like the Flintstones. They use a pterodactyl as a club or something. And
Exactly,
Right.
yeah. And so a friend of mine asked me, why did you choose to do it up in the North Pole? And I said, because that way everything's white and I don't have to draw backgrounds.
God, I was going to give another deep reason. You know, maybe it's trying to capture the coldness of your soul, transposed over
Maybe.
humor.
I don't know.
Yeah, okay,
That's
fine.
more terrifying, actually, if you think about it.
That's all. You just wanted it simpler to draw. These are good drawings, though. You know,
Yeah,
and
thanks.
also, and I like it too because you have drama, you have empathy, you have humor.
Well,
At the same
thanks.
time, people fall, people get hurt, and this is very revolutionary. No mere innocent bystander in life. Are there ever innocent bystanders? Do we get what we want at the end, whether we want it or not?
Yeah, that's sort of like the third. What do you call that when you're writing a book in the third
Person?
Third person.
An arrogant
voice?
person.
That's the narrator, sort of like narrating the
You're like,
action
no
there.
mere.
Innocent bystander. Inevitably,
Yes.
he gets socked.
It's very peanuts, and all this stuff's going to happen
I
anyway.
suppose, yeah, it's kind of
Yeah,
inevitable.
yeah,
Yeah.
Eeyore.
I guess I'm drawing on a lot of sort of cliches. This one actually talks about peanuts. Yeah, that was one where I wrote about peanuts.
Peanuts, a true piece of American literature. Future generations might study it like Shakespeare or Dickens. My favorite book is One Fish, Two Fish, Red Fish, Blue Fish.
This guy's name is Eggman because he's a walrus.
Looks like Teddy
Yeah.
Roosevelt.
I will draw Eggman real quick.
And the Beatles had the Eggman. I am the Eggman.
And I'm a walrus
paw.
cuckoo, could you remember?
Yep.
So they all have sort of fairly simple shapes to them. The hardest part on Eggman is definitely the tusks. I don't know why. It's just really, really hard to get. Because you don't want to make it look like two like hot dogs
Right.
hanging there.
Or kind of like a mosquito that's to bite you.
Yeah. And then he's got a lot of blubber, so you got to kind of have to give him like a lot of layers.
Back taffy fat, we call it.
Backbone. Yeah. And then in his eyes, again, everything's in the eyes, I find. So you kind of have to be careful when you're drawing the eyes. But he's sort of easygoing, this guy. There's really nothing much that's going to faze him. Because, first of all, he doesn't have hands or feet. So he can only kind of waddle around.
Right.
And then he's got whiskers. And and then his body extends out. He's got a big body. And because they're all up in the North Pole, they're all like, you can see them as they breathe. They do these little cloud puffs. Yeah, and Eggman is pretty easy going. And like, he doesn't even really know if One Fish, Two Fish is a Peanuts cartoon or
dinner.
the difference or a dinner. He he likes fish. Fish is actually the currency up in the Arctic of ice cubes.
So where do you find time for this hobby, passion, business career?
Yeah, it's it's a trick. You got to really sort of squeeze it in. I'm building up momentum to where I want to come out with a book of the strips. As soon as I get to 100 strips, I'll publish it, hopefully.
Maybe you can sell it to local bookstores too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, once the book is done, I'll definitely peddle it out
Right.
to whomever is gonna, be wanting it. Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. There are a couple other things that I'll talk about. Yeah, and behind the scenes, I've been publishing it on the web, obviously, and I also I am going to be at my first comic convention in New York. We're going to be doing a convention at the Armory on Lexington Avenue on June 6th and 7th. It's for the Museum of Cartoon and Comic Art.
Cool.
Yeah, festival. It's going to be really, really cool. A lot of artists, comic artists, even some famous artists.
Stan
like-
Lee, the famous.
No, not. It's going to be more sort of independent than that. It's going to be more web artists and people like Gary Panther. I don't know if you got Gary Panther's like a underground New York artist. You remember the show Pee Wee Herman?
Yeah, of course.
He did all the sets for Pee Wee
Oh,
Herman.
really?
Yeah. So, and when I used to live in New York, I actually knew Gary Panther. We did. I mean, he wasn't a friend of mine, but we had done group shows where we were both in the same show. So, I want to be up there with a friend of mine, Pete Friedrich. We'll be sharing a table. It'll be a lot of fun. Meet some people, do some drawings. And
What are
stuff.
these artists like though? Are some like solemn and crazy and esoteric and bohemian, or?
I don't know. I'm also friends with guys from the New Jersey National Cartoonist Society, and they're more old school. They're like the newspaper comics guys, And they're just old guys, you know. They like to eat club sandwiches and drink beer, you know.
And push out the product when it comes to them.
Yeah,
do
and
it,
they
right.
just do, and I like that. You know, that's
Right.
a real sort of, you know, in today's world, where everything's like flying by and crazy. I like sort of like the simpleness of it. You
Right,
know?
right. Like,
It's very portable medium, so I kind of like that.
well,
like,
these pictures just tell a lot of pictures. The pictures I find engaging, though. You just want to go up and see what this cuddly bear is saying.
Well, thanks. That's cool. Maybe I should draw. I'll draw the most famous character. The most famous one is Freeze, the penguin.
Freeze.
Yeah.
Batman, Mr. Freeze. I'm like,
Yeah. And he's a little bit more tricky because he's got attitude. So, and
Love that
essentially,
camera angle. Good camera angle. For someone who's
essentially
been up all night.
Freeze, you got to get his attitude. That's the thing with Freeze. He's got he carries his attitude in his beak, which is kind of weird. And he kind of has this halfway eyeball. And then he's got a portly body. He's not really built for speed, which is why he always like crashes. Do I have one where he tries to do penguin things like flying around and slipping around, but he always ends up crashing and stuff because he thinks he's built for speed, but he's not really.
But he keeps trying.
Yeah.
Keeps going.
I'm gonna kneel down, and he's like Freeze is a penguin, right? But he's in the Arctic, and penguins don't
Then the
live
Antarctic.
in the Arctic.
Right.
So Freeze is kind of an anomaly, and they kind of wonder like why he's in the Arctic, and he won't tell anyone why he showed up there, except that he had to leave Antarctica for dubious reasons.
Kind of like Lucifer, the fallen angel.
Well,
Or maybe it's lost. Maybe it's a dream.
and the thing with Freeze is that I have to color him in because he's got a lot of dark surface. So this could take a while. You got anything you want to talk about while I'm doing this?
No, I'm just watching. I just like how this thing, all of a sudden out of these lines, you get a character comes out of it. It's like
yeah,
alchemy.
my poor pens are like dying on me. Note to self, get more pens before Mocha Fest.
So Freeze the mystery, an enigma. At the same time, he has attitude.
He's got attitude. He's got street smarts. He's got attitude.
Yeah, well, his DNA's way off because he's in the wrong Arctic pole.
Yeah, and he's sort of like he's always got the street jargon. He sings like hip hop and stuff. And these poor pens. And I like to say that he gets a lot of ink. He's actually full of it. People really kind of like Freeze the most just because of the attitude, I guess.
So what's this? His bling? What's that?
Yeah, that's a fish hook that he stole from Nookie the Eskimo. Because Freeze doesn't believe in actually having to pay for anything. So he's always stealing fish from Nookie the Eskimo.
Must have been his childhood.
Exactly. So, and then I do these little lines because that means it's being reflected in the ice. He's standing on ice. See?
Right, okay.
And then he has some smoke coming out of his nose. And then he says, "Yo, I'm on TV."
Your kids must love you. Daddy can make the story up as he goes.
That's Freeze. So, hey,
It's Leroy Jr.
son.
Leroy Jr.
my son Apollo. Sometimes actually on the website I'll put drawings that Apollo made because they're really good too.
And what's your website again?
The website
Ice
is
Cube.
icecubescomic.com, and there's a shortcut to it, which is icecubes.tv.
.tv, cool.
Yeah. There's one more thing I want to talk about. In addition to being at Mocha Fest on June the 6th in New York City, Lexington Avenue. I am also publishing the first collection of Ice Cubes the Strips on the new Kindle.
What's
The
the
Amazon
book? Kindle book?
Kindle, yeah, I'll get it. It's right here.
Oh, cool. I've
Yeah, I
never
wanna
seen
show
it
you
one up
that.
live.
And
You th-
I'm in the process of publishing them right now. So
Do you think people really, it's going to be the future of books?
I don't know. It's a good question. Have you seen one of these yet? Have you
No,
played around
I've
with it?
seen them on TV and I've read about them, but I'm not actually in hand. Is Oscar Wilde?
Yeah, yeah.
Can we show our TV audience?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there you go. There's can you get this? Should I put it on here? Apollo, why don't you go over?
Oh,
with
look
Mom?
at.
Go with Mom. Go with Mom. So, see, you can publish the strips come out looking pretty good, you know, and I'm going to publish the first 50 Ice Cube strips on the Kindle so that anybody can go there and buy them and download. It'll be really cheap, $2.99. And
Push it like this to go to the next page.
there's no next page yet. That's
Oh.
because I'm just.
But if you were going to do a next page,
This is
how
just
do
a test one.
Oh.
But yeah, if you're doing the next page, you just click on here and it goes to the next page, and you read it. It's not really like a book, but it's an interesting invention, I think.
And you can download anything off your computer and then just bring it with you.
Yeah, Amazon obviously has Amazon's like the new library of the world, right?
Right.
So what they do is they make these available in digital format, and I could go on right here, right now, go to Amazon, download anything you want.
Jeez,
It's
Louise.
pretty amazing. I don't know if I want to
But how do they make money
spend
off
time
it?
doing that. Well, they charge you.
Oh.
You
You have to pay a fee through
you have
your
to pay
credit
a
card.
fee to download stuff. Like this is some of the things I have. Let me see. There's another a Killing End Comics. Here's another comic that I downloaded. It's like a
Cool.
see? And then you getting that at all? Well, and anyway, and then you just switch the pages by going next page like that. Goes to the next page, and you can read it.
They should put newspapers on that, and they should update them
Oh,
as
there
the news
are.
changes. As the news changes, they
Oh
should
yeah,
be
yeah,
updating
yeah. You can
stuff.
get a subscription to the New York Times and stuff like that.
But I hope they would update it almost momentarily. If something changes, they can
Right.
change the headline just like that.
Right. But it's weird. You kind of wonder where that's going to fit between sort of like the BlackBerry and the iPod and the cell phone, the G3 cell phones, and
DVDs is so old. That's so long ago. Stuff.
I want to show you some more stuff real quick. So check out the Kindle when we finished uploading this stuff. The first 50 strips, which are not online anymore, they are sort of. When I I retire the strips from the website after a while when I get to a point. The last 40 strips are on the website, but the first 50 are not. So you'll be able to catch that on the Kindle. Let me just show you some other stuff. I'll just bring this up. These are some of the. You were asking me how do you get about sort of putting a strip together. These are just some drawings. Like this is like a funny drawing I did. It's like a cubist kind of interpretation of the strip. I call that ice cubism.
So you kind of start like a warm-up doodle. You kind of doodle this, doodle that.
Absolutely. Like
Get the
here
brain
are the
going.
doodles. Yeah. Like you sit around and Joel Schultz said that part of his writing process was actually drawing his characters in funny poses
And
just
then
for the
ha-
heck of it.
Right.
And that would bring in ideas too. So like you can see, like just draw the character like there's Peck and Paul with his head in his hands like that. So and there's Nuki, the penguin. I mean the Eskimo. The Eskimo. And yeah, see Eggman's pretty laid back. He's always like right on.
So when you
far
become
out.
really famous, these like rough drafts are going to be worth a lot of money.
Yeah, of course. Hopefully.
It's like
Pay for some
beginning.
of the bills.
Right.
But yeah, it's scribbles, you
Look,
know.
you even did the alphabet to get your with that left brain thing.
Oh
or
yeah,
right
well
brain
that's a
thing?
very good point. I did the alphabet, and that's because I do my lettering by hand, which a lot of people don't do anymore. And I'll just show on the. This is all hand drawn, the lettering, and most people now online, they actually sometimes don't even draw anymore on paper.
It's computer.
They'll just do it straight on the computer with vector graphics, and then they'll just type this in with a font, and then they'll just pull vectors. It's basically, they're not really, I mean, they're still artists, but they're more digital artists.
Right.
Whereas I'm real old school. As a matter of fact, I have some of the gear. I know this is the last minute, if I could show some of my gear.
Kind of like the left brain to the
Yeah.
arm to the hand.
See, I use the old quill pen
Wow.
with ink, you know. And can you see it?
It's the equivalent of using a typewriter instead of a
Yeah,
a word
it's just
processor.
like so old-fashioned. It's insane.
Hey, but
and-
that's what gets you going.
Old
That's good,
brushes,
right?
brushes to do the ink. I fill in freeze with the. Here's the ink. See, I
Wow.
mean, it's like super old-fashioned, you know, and I kind of like it that way. It sort of has. I sort of, enjoy it.
It's meditative too.
Meditative, yeah.
This, and then you bring another instrument in to
You just
complete the
kind of
process.
sink into it.
Right.
Yeah.
I see that.
So
We have so many, should I say, dynamic artists in the Princeton area, and you should check out Leroy Brown at
yes, icecubes.tv.
TV.com. My short-term memory was a little bad right there, but it's going to improve. We're almost done. And yes, and soon he'll be peddling his wares all over Princeton. And I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, and online for everybody to see at icecubes.tv. Hopefully in bookstores real soon. We'll put the first volume together and print it on real paper, put it out there, and on the Kindle coming up very soon.
And Leroy, no one tried to get in fights with you because you're Leroy Brown. Bad Leroy Brown.
No, it's that's part of the fun.
Well, thanks a lot, and we're now going to go to a band. Rock on.